To make sense of all of this and how it fits together, earlier today I spoke to Gilbert Achcar, Professor of Development Studies and International Relations at SOAS in London. I began by asking him whether Isaac Herzog's evil empire accusation against Iran had any merit.
There are several evil empires in the region, the United States being the major one, but what the Israeli president is hinting at is obviously Iran, and it takes a lot of nerve to call any other country evil when your own country is engaged in a genocidal war, as is the case today in Gaza.
So, Iran have bombed Pakistan, who have now retaliated with several civilians being killed. What's going on there?
That isn't related to the war on Gaza. That is not related to the Israel-Palestine issue. That's between an old feud, actually, between Pakistan and Iran. Iran struck inside Pakistani territory in retaliating against a group called the Army of Justice, Jaish al-Adl, which Iran accuses of having conducted a series of terrorist attacks, most recently a few days ago, inside Iran. And so that was an action taken by Iran in the what is becoming a tradition in this part of the world, where you see that every country just takes the full freedom of striking within other countries' territories in the name of pursuing some enemy. Of course, the United States and Israel have been pioneers in this method, but we can see that it is very dangerously spreading now in this exchange of fire between Iran and Pakistan, knowing also that there is the sectarian division that is involved here between Iran as a Shia country and Pakistan as a mostly Shia country, and Pakistan as a mostly Sunni country.
On that note, Jordan bombed Syria, which has been reported in the Western press, but this isn't connected to the Israel's campaign on Gaza or Iran's defense of Gaza, is it?
It's not, and in the same way that the the strikes Monday night that conducted by both Iran and Turkey within Syrian and Iraqi territory. That's another example of what I was mentioning. Were not connected, directly connected to the war on Gaza, the Israeli war on Gaza. I mean, they were targeting local forces which they regard as enemies. Iran pretended that it was targeting Israeli agents within Iraqi Kurdistan. Turkey doesn't have that kind of pretense. Turkey is openly at war with the Kurdish forces that are active in the Iraqi and Syrian parts of Kurdistan.
These tensions between other countries like Pakistan and Iran, like Syria and Jordan, did we see military action accompanying those tensions before October 7th, or has everything escalated alongside Israel's military campaign on Gaza?
All this did not start with October 7th for sure, but the war that Israel has been waging since October 7th on Gaza has escalated tensions in the region, made the whole situation even more tense than it used to be. And when you have today also the United States striking at will inside Yemeni territory, the Yemeni forces striking at sea or against shipping, usually related to Israeli trade. When you have now an old a series of Israeli strikes in Syria for very many years now, You have Turkey regularly conducting strikes in Syria and Iraq against Kurdish forces. Iran is joining the fray, and now Pakistan. So it's becoming, it's almost the war of all, or against all in this part of the world, very sadly. And of course, I mean, there's no one can pretend that there is any kind of international law respected by anybody there. Starting by the United States, which gave the example, and Israel, which has been very active on this front.
Is there a danger that these separate tensions will just end up with one giant sort of ongoing conflict in that region? And if so, where do different states fall? What sides are people on at this stage?
I don't think that at present, at this stage, there is any real risk of general regional war. That's not really on the cards. Um, uh, I mean, the most uh, likely or possible escalation of war, or extension of the war that, I mean, this genocidal war, once again, that Israel is conducting against the population of Gaza. The major risk of extension is towards Lebanon. And Israel has been, over the last few days in particular, escalating its discourse and warnings and threats against Hezbollah in particular, and other groups that are active from Lebanon, into engage into these kinds of fire exchange or skirmishes on the northern border for the Israeli state, that which is the southern border for Lebanon. That's where you have a real risk of extension. Beyond that, I don't think that there is today. I mean, as the situation looks today, it's very difficult to imagine things going to the level of a real war between any other two states.
Does Israel want a wider war at this stage if it's, escalating the attacks on the Lebanese border and within Lebanon, and it's making sure spokespeople are pointing fingers at Iran and framing them as this empire behind everything? What is the end goal there?
Israel, in the case of Lebanon, is putting demands on the Lebanese Hezbollah, requiring that it withdraws any troops, any forces they have close to the border, and a few kilometers to the north. And they are putting that as a demand accompanied with a military threat, and the threat is very crude, very brutal threat. Of I mean, the present Israeli Minister of Defense last August, so before October 7 and all that, threatened, and I'm just quoting what he said, to turn Lebanon back to the Stone Age. So this is, I mean, and this is actually what they are doing in Gaza today. So Israel is threatening other countries I mean, levels of destruction that are absolutely appalling, and very, I would say, in this sense, nothing, I mean, comparable can be found, maybe since the Vietnam War, or even the Second World War, to find such terrible destruction in such a very short time, just a few weeks or a very few months. You have had the destruction of a complete territory like that, Gaza, and Israel is threatening Lebanon, or at least part of Lebanon, of doing exactly the same.
Let's just go back to Iran for a second. I've heard the term thrown around a lot today, proxy war between Iran and the US. Is that a useful framing at all to think of conflicts and tensions within the region?
It's not, in the sense that any explanation of what Hamas did by Iran is first a denial of agency for the Palestinians and for Hamas itself, and I mean a very unconvincing kind of explanation. Actually, Iran and the Iran allies in the regions, like Hezbollah in Lebanon or the Shia militias in Iraq, clearly expressed after October 7 their, how to say, their I mean, some kind of criticism to Hamas for not having warned them in advance or coordinated or agreed with them on the date of its attack. So it's not at all that, but of course. That fits within the confrontation that exists in the region between Israel, the United States on the one side, plus the Saudi kingdom with its own considerations, and Iran on the other side. So there is this confrontation going on, and all things are linked in this. I mean, that's not a huge part of the world. And you can see the number of conflicts. Just imagine having this kind of density of conflicts in Europe. You would, I mean, that would look like a new world war.
So there's a lot of moving parts in this region, but where do you see things unfolding over the next few weeks, months, even the next year?
What we can see now is, at least at the level of the war, ongoing war on Gaza, is that Israel is shifting gradually from an intensive bombing campaign into what it calls a low intensity war, which is actually what have been doing in recent weeks in North Gaza, that is looking for the tunnels, trying to destroy what remains from the network of tunnels, and at the same time, of course, destroy and kill the remaining fighters of Hamas there. And this low intensity war, they are promising to continue for the whole year 2024. And in that, I see also a very clear wager in some way, or some way of betting by the Israeli government, and especially Netanyahu, on the election of Donald Trump. So, I mean, this is a year during which Israel believes that the Biden administration is not in a position to impose anything on them, even if it wanted, which it hasn't really shown any willingness for until now. And secondly, they may, I mean, they believe probably that, like a lot of pollsters today, that Donald Trump is well in a good position to be re-elected as president, which would give a major boost to Israel's wildest projects in the region. And all this talk about a Palestinian state and the rest are just, I mean, hot air now presently.